In a small village named Sundarpur in Bhojpur, there lived a boy, Aarav. He was only 10 years old, but his heart was full of big dreams. His house was made of mud, with a small roof and an old cot. But beneath that roof lived a sky of dreams, a sky that called to Aarav every night. Every morning, as the sun rose, Aarav would go with his mother to fetch water from the well. On the way, he would often stop and stare at piles of clay, saying, "Ma, if we could fill these mud heaps with electricity, they would start moving." His mother would laugh and say, "Silly boy, does mud ever move?" Aarav would go quiet, but deep inside, a tiny fire was lit. One day, "I'll make the mud come alive." To reach school, Aarav had to walk 5 kilometers every day. His shoes were torn, his clothes were worn out, and his bag was nothing more than an old sack. Other children teased him, "He wants to be an engineer. Look, the mud Einstein." Aarav would just smile and say, "Laugh all you want, but one day I'll make something you'll be proud of." His father, Raghunath, came home every evening, tired and calloused, his face lined with sweat but eyes shining with hope. He often said, "Son, the world belongs to the rich." Aarav would reply softly, "No, Baba, the world belongs to those who dream." One day, there was a science fair at school. Aarav gathered old cycle parts, a broken torch, and some wires, and built a machine that makes electricity. Everyone laughed. What junk is he putting together now? But when Aarav turned the pedals, the bulb lit up. The crowd went silent. The teacher exclaimed, "Son, this actually works. You've done something amazing." That day, Aarav's dream saw its first light, but poverty still loomed large. Books, uniforms, fees, all too costly. His mother sold her earrings to buy him books, and Aarav promised, "One day, Ma, this book will become your crown." Time passed. Aarav grew up and went to the city to study engineering. The villagers said, "No one ever returns once they go to the city." But Aarav didn't go to escape. He went to learn, so he could give back. Life in the city was hard. To pay hostel fees, he washed dishes at night and studied all day. Some nights he slept hungry, but his dream never went hungry. One night, he fell asleep in a corner of the library, a book under his head and a notebook in his hand. On that notebook, he had written, "Soil to Electricity, Dream Project." 4 years later, in his final year, Aarav presented his project to the world, a machine that generated electricity from soil and water, a soil energy converter. People were amazed. The judges asked, "Son, where did this idea come from?" Aarav smiled and said, "From the soil of my village." The project won a national award, but Aarav didn't see money in it. He saw his dream, to bring light back to his village. Months later, Aarav returned to Sundarpur with his machine. It was a dark night, but the whole village had gathered. Aarav set up the machine and started pedaling. One bulb lit up, then 10, then the entire village. Children shouted with joy, "Electricity has come. Aarav Bhaiya did it." Tears filled his father's eyes. He said, "Son, today I've learned, poverty isn't a curse, it's a test." Aarav held his father's hand and said, "Baba, today even the soil has learned how to shine." Years later, Aarav's invention spread across the country. Villages that had never seen electricity were glowing with light, thanks to Aarav's soil machine. People began calling him the scientist of the soil, and whenever a child dreamed big, their fathers would say, "Remember Aarav, the boy who turned soil into gold." Aarav later built a school in memory of his parents, where every child was taught, "Never fear the soil, for life grows from